I texted the family chat, my kid's surgery is at 6 a.m. I need someone to stay with his little sister tonight. Mom replied, stop making your sick kid our problem. My sister sent laughing emojis. I answered, good, now I know exactly where we stand. At 9:42 p.m., Dad picked up a call that made him stop talking. Poppy walked into the kitchen in her rocket ship pajamas holding her stuffed penguin by one flipper. The clock on the stove said 8:47. Her hair was still wet from the bath. She stopped in the doorway and looked at my phone the way 6-year-olds look at their mother's phones, which is with the assumption that whatever is happening on the screen is less important than what they are about to say. Mommy, can I sleep with the light on tonight? Yes, baby. Any light you want. The seahorse one. The seahorse one. Because Ruben has to sleep at the hospital. Because Ruben has to sleep at the hospital, but it is just for one night, and Dr. Kirby is very good. Okay. She hugged the penguin harder. She turned. She padded down the hallway toward her room. The seahorse nightlight switched on. The mattress springs settled. The house went quiet. My phone screen was still glowing on the counter. 2 lines sat in the text box, unsent. Ruben's surgery is at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I need someone to stay with Poppy tonight while I do pre-op with him and drive over first thing. The cursor blinked. The message had been typed 3 times and deleted twice because my mother Verna does not respond well to what she calls direct requests. She responds better to what she calls proper framing. 3 rewrites had not produced a sentence shaped the way my mother preferred to be asked. And at 36 years old, with a son having tonsils out at 6 in the morning, the energy for a 4th rewrite was not there. The send button went at 8:49. The phone went face down on the counter. Ruben's room was 3 steps down the hall. He was in bed with his tablet on his chest, watching a video about how sharks sleep. He looked up. Mom, did you text Grandma? Already done. Is she coming to sit with Poppy? We will see. Because Annalise is not coming, she said last time she would not come again because Poppy asked too many questions at bedtime. That sounds about right. Yuki is better anyway. Yuki has a shift tonight. Okay, but if Grandma cannot come, Yuki will come tomorrow morning. Yes. Okay. The tablet went back up. Ruben is 9. He has had asthma since 2 and severe chronic tonsillitis since 6, and has been at pediatric appointments so many times that the sound of a blood pressure cuff velcroing on and off is one of his earliest memories. The surgery did not scare him. Being alone at the hospital overnight did. Not because he would be alone, because he had learned to pre-worry things the way children learn when adults sometimes disappear at the moment they promise they will not. Back in the kitchen, the phone was still face down. It came up in my hand. 2 replies had come in. The first was from Verna. 9/11. Fiona, stop making your sick kid our problem. Your children are your children. You chose to have 2 of them without a husband present. We are not your daycare, and we are not your safety net. Ruben has been sick since he was born, and every time he has an appointment, you turn the family into your support group. We are exhausted. Handle your own life. The second was from my sister Elise. 9/12. 3 crying, laughing emojis. Then, seriously, Fee. One of us always ends up your babysitter. Figure out your own kids for once. Both messages got read twice. I sat down at the kitchen table. I opened the bedside drawer and took out the leather-bound journal Grandpa Wallace had mailed me 3 years ago, wrapped in brown paper, no note. I opened it to the current page. I wrote the date, 1 line underneath it. Verna, Elise. Tonight. This is who they are. I closed the journal. I put it back in the drawer. Then the cursor blinked in the reply box. My thumb hovered over the G. The word good appeared on screen. I stopped. I looked at it. I almost deleted the whole thing. Warm mothers do not send flat replies. My mother had taught me that early. A good daughter absorbs. A good daughter finds the reasonable version. A good daughter rereads the message she is about to send and softens it once for the sake of the person receiving it. From the hallway, Poppy's voice came through the dark. Mommy, is the seahorse light on? Yes, honey. I finished the sentence. Good. Now I know exactly where we stand. I sent it at 9:14, I put the phone face down on the counter. I went to the living room and turned on the light. I sat on the couch. I did not cry. I called Yuki. Yuki, Ruben's surgery is at 6. Verna said no. Elise sent laughing emojis. Can you come sit with Poppy? Give me 20 minutes. She was at the door in 14. If this is the story you came for, subscribe to Family Secret Tales. Because at 9:42 that same night, my father Duane was standing at a poker table in my parents' dining room, and his phone rang, and the man on the other end had been alive for 89 years and had been waiting 3 years to make that call. Before the call, 3 things. My name is Fiona, 36 years old, pediatric respiratory therapist at Mission Children's Hospital in Indianapolis for 11 years. The job means intubating children, running pediatric ICU vent rounds, coaching parents through the first time they watch their 4-year-old go into respiratory failure, and sometimes coaching parents through the last breath of a child who will not have another one. The pay is $68,000 a year plus shift differentials. The house is a small ranch on Beachway Drive in Broad Ripple, bought with the divorce settlement 3 years ago. My ex-husband Griffin is a Navy civilian contractor overseas. He calls the kids on Sundays. He sends child support on the 1st. He is a good man who was married to the wrong person. That person is me. Neither of us holds it against the other. Grandpa Wallace is my father's father. He is 89 years old. He lives at Meadowlark Assisted Living, 40 minutes outside Bloomington. 3 years ago, my father told the family that Grandpa had been diagnosed with advanced Alzheimer's and could no longer receive visitors or process correspondence. The facility had strict no-visitor policies. Grandma Ruby had died in 2018, and it broke his mind. The family believed it because my father Duane had been a hospital administrator for 31 years before he retired. He knew what advanced Alzheimer's looked like. He had explained the progression with clinical fluency the winter my mother asked me to stop taking the kids to see Grandpa because seeing them upset him. My father had said writing was fine because he will not read it, but it will be a comfort to you to write it. He had given me a P.O. box to send the letters to. Box 4471, Broad Ripple Station. Because Grandpa's mail at the facility was being lost in the intake system. 3 years of letters went to Box 4471. Christmas letters. Ruben's kindergarten milestone letter. The letter written from the recovery room the night Poppy was born, addressed to a grandfather who would probably never read it, because he needed to know anyway. 37 letters total. A spreadsheet tracked everyone, because a spreadsheet is what a person keeps when they no longer have another adult to compare their reality against. The third thing is Yuki Nakamura, 44 years old, fellow graduate of the RT program 12 years ago. Now a pediatric ICU nurse at the same hospital. Single mother herself, older kids grown and in college. Lives 2 houses down on Beachway Drive. 3 years ago, on my first shift back after divorce bereavement leave, the RT locker room at 5:47 in the morning held one woman trying to stop her hands from shaking. Yuki walked in with her scrubs half on. She sat down on the bench across from me. Her older son had just been accepted to IU School of Nursing that Monday. She was terrified he would get into a dorm and leave, and the house would be empty, and she would have to learn who she was without the sound of someone else's cereal bowl in the sink. She was not going to tell him any of that. She was going to help him pack. She looked at me and said, "Fiona, in this hospital, patients do not need you to be steady. They need you to be present. Trembling is present. Get up." Then she stood and finished getting into her scrubs and walked out to her shift. 40 seconds later, the bench was empty. Every shift since has started with both feet on the floor. Yuki has never mentioned that morning again. She just shows up in my driveway on the hard days with a coffee that has the right amount of oat milk without asking, taps twice on the driver's side window, and waits. That is who stands around me. Ruben's surgery was at 6:14 the next morning. Dr. Aletha Kirby did the tonsillectomy and adenoidectomy in 53 minutes. The airway was clean. The bleeding was normal. Recovery by 8 Wasm. Orange sherbet by 9:45. Discharge at 1:30 with a laminated post-op sheet that could have been written from memory and instructions to keep him on soft foods for a week. Yuki was at the house with Poppy. She had taken the entire day as a personal day. One voicemail to her supervisor at 6 in the morning. When the front door opened at 2:11, Yuki had already made mac and cheese, cut up jicama for Poppy, and set up the couch with 3 pillows and Ruben's favorite blanket. The hug at the door lasted 4 seconds. No questions about how the family had responded. She had seen the group chat Thursday night. She did not need to ask. She just made coffee. Yuki left at 6:09 that evening. Her son was home from IU for the weekend. Pierogi plans. The hug for Poppy was tight. The high five for Ruben was gentle. The last thing she said at the door was, "Fiona, you go do what you need to do. Tomorrow or Sunday or whenever the kid is stable. The kids are mine until you get back." Friday night on the couch. Poppy asleep against my shoulder. Ruben watching a coral reef documentary on mute with closed captions because his throat was too sore to want to hear anyone talk. At 9:22, a text arrived from an unknown Bloomington number. Fiona. "This is Bethany, one of the nurses at Meadowlark. Your grandfather asked me to text you. He said to tell you Ruben's tonsils came out at 11 when he was a boy, and he still has the scar. He said Ruben will be fine. He said you already know that, but he wanted you to hear it from him. He said things are going to move fast at his end starting Monday, and to trust him. He said do not worry about the letters. He said he understands now." I read the text 5 times. I almost called the Meadowlark front desk right then to ask them to put Wallace on the phone. I did not. Bethany had texted from her personal phone at some risk and calling the facility switchboard at 9:22 on a Friday night to demand to speak to a resident whose file said no visitors would put her in an impossible position. I put the phone down on the coffee table. I looked at Ruben. His eyes were on the coral reef. His hand was on Poppy's back where she slept against my shoulder. I looked at the ceiling. The seahorse nightlight glow came down the hallway from Poppy's room. I typed one word back to Bethany. "Thank you." The phone went down. Ruben looked over. "Mom." "Yeah, buddy." "Are you okay?" "Yeah, Rue." You made a face. "Yeah." He nodded. The coral reef came back on his screen. If you have made it this far, subscribe to Family Secret Tales. Because the sentence my father had told me for 3 years, the sentence my understanding of Grandpa's last years had been built around, was a sentence my grandfather had never once been the man it described. Between 8:47 Thursday night and 9:42, 6 things had happened. At 8:52, my mother Verna had walked from her kitchen chair into the dining room where my father was setting up a poker table for 4 retired hospital colleagues. The group chat was on her phone screen. She held it up. Duane read the text. "Tell her no." Verna. "Already did." At 8:54, my sister Elise had been at her house on the north side. The group chat was open. Verna's message arrived. Elise typed her own. Sent it. Phone down on counter. No further thought. At 9:03, one of my father's poker friends arrived. Dean, 18-year colleague from Mission General. Dean's ex-wife was a woman named Priscilla Vance, an estate attorney in Bloomington. They still spoke because of adult children. Dean said in the front hallway, hanging his coat, "Saw Priscilla for coffee this morning. She got a strange letter last week from an old client who wanted to schedule a very specific meeting. She was reading it like it was important." My father. "Interesting." Back at the poker table, the deck got shuffled too fast. Dean noticed. At 9:11, Verna's text went into the family chat. At 9:14, mine followed. At 9:22, Grandpa Wallace was sitting up in bed at Meadowlark. He had asked Bethany, his evening nurse, to help him call me about Ruben's surgery. Bethany brought the phone from the charging dock. She opened the messaging app to find my number. The family group chat was pinned at the top because Wallace had been added in 2020, before the memory care story started, and although Duane had told him the phone was broken and replaced it with a flip phone, the smartphone had stayed in the nightstand drawer, charging, receiving messages silently for 3 years. Bethany opened the chat. The most recent messages were less than 20 minutes old. She read them aloud. Wallace listened. His face did not change. When she finished, he said, "Bethany, do not call Fiona. Call the number in the little brown book on the nightstand. Priscilla Vance. Dial it. Hand me the phone." The brown book opened. The number dialed. Priscilla answered on the second ring. The conversation lasted 8 minutes. Wallace hung up at 9:34. He handed the phone back. One more call. My son. Bethany dialed Duane's cell. She handed Wallace the phone. At 9:42, my father felt his pocket buzz. Mid-deal, 5-card draw, 4 retired hospital administrators around the table. The deck went down. The screen said, Dad. That word had not appeared on my father's phone in 3 years because he had believed the phone that made those calls no longer existed. The kitchen door closed behind him. The phone came up to his ear. 41 seconds. My grandfather did not raise his voice. Duane, Priscilla is filing at 9 tomorrow morning. Do not call me again. The line went dead. My father stood in the kitchen with the phone still against his ear for 18 seconds. Then the phone went into his pocket. The dining room door opened. He did not sit down. He did not deal the next hand. Dean. Duane, you okay? Something has come up with my father. Have to end the night. The 4 men left within 9 minutes. My mother came downstairs at 10:04. Both of Duane's hands were flat on the marble counter. His phone sat between them. She did not have to ask. How? The phone. He still has the phone. Which phone? The one I told you we got back from him. In 2021. I said I took it. You did not take it. No. She sat down across from him. Neither of them spoke for a long time. None of that was known to me on Friday night. Saturday was day 1 post-op, highest bleeding risk window. The couch held both kids all morning. Yuki arrived at 10 with a puzzle for Poppy and stayed until dinner. Ruben napped. His airway stayed clean. His voice was raspy but working. Apple juice went down. A documentary went on. Sleep came at 8:30 and held all night. Sunday morning, Dr. Kirby called for a check-in. Ruben was cleared for normal, quiet activity. Still on soft foods, but the bleeding risk was down. Stable. Yuki arrived at 9 with a paper bag of croissants and raspberry jam because she knows my kids will eat croissants and jam when they will eat nothing else. The hug for Ruben was gentle. Poppy got a forehead kiss. Then Yuki looked at me. You have everything. The court order, the phone, Priscilla on speaker at 1. The order was faxed to his attorney at 10:14 Saturday morning. He knows you are coming. He knows something is coming. He does not know it is coming through the front door with a court order. Good. My coat went on. Poppy hugged my leg. Ruben gave a thumbs up from the couch. I closed the front door behind me. I got in the car. The road to Bloomington was 94 minutes of February highway, flat and gray and cold. At 1 p.m., the driveway on Sagamore Trail held 6 cars. 2 belonged to former colleagues of my father from Mission General. My mother was hosting brunch. Through the picture window, 10, 12, maybe 14 people. The front walk, the doorbell. Verna opened the door. She was wearing the cream cashmere sweater she wears when she is entertaining. Her face changed when she saw me. It did not soften. It hardened into the specific expression she wears when she is deciding whether to fight or perform. She chose perform. Fiona, what a surprise. We are having brunch. Not here to eat, Mom. Here to talk to Dad. And you. 1 step past her. She did not move fast enough to block it. The living room opened up. My father, Duane, stood at the fireplace with a mimosa. My sister Elise sat on the couch with her husband Brooks. Their kids Nell and Lane at the dining table with an iPad. 4 former colleagues spread across the room, including Dr. Grace Ashwood from the Pediatric Oversight Committee Duane had chaired for 8 years. Every conversation stopped. My father tried to smile. His face had the tightness of a man who has been rehearsing. Fiona, come in, sit down, have a mimosa. No, Dad. You look tired. Ruben's surgery went okay. Ruben is home. Yuki is with him. This is not about them. It is about you. The mimosa went down on the mantel. The mimosa hand went into his khaki pocket. The shoulders set back. The throat cleared once. The speech was ready. Fiona, you have always turned your children into a rescue mission. Ruben's tonsils are a common surgery. Poppy is 6 years old and could have slept on your couch by herself and been fine. You wanted an audience. You wanted your mother to hover and your sister to cry. And when we said no, you invented this narrative that we abandoned a sick child. Nobody abandoned anybody. You escalated a routine procedure into a family emergency because you have always needed our attention more than your children have ever needed each other. Grow up. 14 people watching. Dr. Grace Ashwood holding her plate of quiche with a fork frozen midair. Brooks studying his own knees. Elise watching her mother. My mother watching my father with the specific look she gives him when she wants him to keep going. Duane watching me. No response came. The speech got its silence. The room settled. Then the phone came out of my coat pocket. One tap on the contact. Speaker on. Priscilla Vance's voice filled the living room. Fiona, I am here. I have the file. The phone went on the coffee table. My eyes went to my father. Grandpa called Dad at 9:42 Thursday. 37 letters are in the bottom drawer of your desk. The trust changes filed Friday morning. 24 words. My father's jaw, which had been set forward for the speech, dropped a 1/4 inch and stayed there. His hand came out of his pocket and went to the edge of the mantel and gripped it. His weight shifted forward the way a man's weight shifts when he is deciding whether to sit down or fall down, and the decision was not entirely within his control. Elise stood up from the couch. The mimosa went sideways. Orange juice and champagne hit the hardwood. The glass hit the coffee table and cracked, but did not break. Nobody moved to clean it up. Elise's voice came out too fast. Mom told me Grandpa was gone. Mom told me the mortgage money was Dad's gift to us. Mom said the trust was already set up for Nell and Lane. Mom said, she stopped. She had heard herself. Her hand went to her mouth. Her eyes went to Verna. Verna was looking at the crack in the mimosa glass on the coffee table. Elise sat down hard on the couch. The cushion made the small sound cushions make when someone sits without deciding to. Brooks did not touch her arm. My mother. Fiona, that is not funny. Priscilla's voice came through the speaker. Mr. Ledger, Mrs. Ledger, my name is Priscilla Vance. I am the estate attorney for Wallace Ledger. On file at my office is a durable power of attorney executed by Wallace Ledger on February 18th, 3 days ago, revoking the durable power of attorney previously executed on March 4th, 2019, in favor of Duane Ledger. Also on file is an amended trust executed on the same date naming Fiona Ledger as sole trustee and Reuben Ledger and Poppy Ledger as primary beneficiaries. Filed with the court Friday morning at 9:04 a.m. A court order for retrieval of any correspondence addressed to Fiona Ledger, care of P.O. Box 4471, Broad Ripple Station, was served on your attorney at 10:14 Saturday morning. Mr. Ledger, do we have your cooperation? My father's grip on the mantel tightened. His mouth was still open the 1/4 inch it had opened at 9:42 Thursday. His mother had died in 2011 and his father, according to the story he had told for 3 years, had died to the rest of the family. Both of those statements had been true only for him. His voice came out rehearsed. Priscilla, this is a misunderstanding. My father has advanced Alzheimer's. He cannot execute legal documents. Any signature you have on file is void because he does not have capacity. Priscilla's voice. Mr. Ledger, your father executed the amended trust on video at Meadowlark Assisted Living on February 18th with 2 witnesses present, a notary present, and his physician present. The competency evaluation was performed on the same date. He was found competent. The evaluation is attached to the trust. He also recorded a personal video testament in the event any family member challenges the trust on capacity grounds. That video is 96 seconds long. Would you like me to play it for you now? Nobody in the living room spoke. I will take that as no. The court order requires you to grant access to any correspondence in your possession addressed to Ms. Fiona Ledger, care of P.O. Box 4471. Please confirm you understand your obligation under the order. My father looked at my mother. My mother was not looking at him. She was looking at Elise. Elise was looking at the floor. His voice was flat. I understand. My voice, Where are they, Dad? Where are the letters? In my office, bottom drawer of the desk. The hallway was 12 steps. I opened the office door. The desk was the same one he had used for 31 years of hospital administration. I pulled the bottom drawer open. 37 envelopes, rubber banded together. Postmarked Meadowlark Assisted Living, addressed to Fiona Ledger, care of P.O. Box 4471, Broad Ripple Station. All opened. Underneath the rubber-banded stack at the bottom of the drawer, a second pile, smaller, 12 envelopes, addressed in my handwriting, postmarked from a mailing service in Broad Ripple. Return address, my house on Beachway Drive. They were not mine. I had never written them. I lifted the top one and opened it. My father's imitation of my handwriting was not perfect, but it was good enough to fool a man who wanted to believe the letters were real. 2 pages. Dated 11 months ago. Grandpa, I am so sorry it has been hard to visit lately. Reuben is fine. Poppy is fine. Griffin sends money on time. Please do not worry about us. The kids do not want to visit facilities. They said it makes them uncomfortable. I hope you understand. Love, Fiona. 12 of them. Different dates. Different lies. All in a handwriting that looked enough like mine to pass. All telling my grandfather that his granddaughter did not want to visit, that the great-grandchildren were uncomfortable around him, that everyone was fine, that nobody needed anything. 4 weeks ago, my grandfather had noticed something wrong. One of the forged letters mentioned Poppy's kindergarten teacher by name. Ms. Kettler. Poppy's kindergarten teacher was indeed Ms. Kettler. But my grandfather had never heard that name from me. He had never heard it from anyone in my actual letters. There was only one way my father could have known the name, which was that Ms. Kettler was the wife of one of Duane's former colleagues at Mission General, and my mother Verna had mentioned her at a bridge lunch 6 months earlier. Wallace had recognized the name. He had looked at the return address. He had realized in that moment, sitting up in bed at Meadowlark with a letter in his hand, that his son had written pretending to be his granddaughter, that his son had been intercepting his mail and writing back as someone else for 3 years. He had called Priscilla the next morning. The desk chair held my weight. The letter sat in my lap. Priscilla was still on speaker. I have them, all of them, including 12 that are not mine. Bring everything. The file opens Monday morning. Priscilla. Yes. How long have you been waiting for this? Since April 2022, Fiona. Your grandfather called me the same week your father told the family he was in memory care. He asked me to keep the trust ready. He asked me to wait for a signal. He got the signal Thursday night. Okay. The phone went dark. The 37 letters came off the desk in a neat stack, pressed against my chest. The 12 forged ones went into my coat pocket. The hallway was 12 steps back to the living room. Nobody had moved. Dr. Grace Ashwood was standing now. Her plate was on the coffee table. Her fork was on the plate. She looked at my father. She looked at me. Duane, I am going to go. The front door opened. 2 other former colleagues stood up. They followed her. 3 people left without a word. The door clicked closed. My mother had not moved from the entryway. She was looking at the stack of letters. Her mouth was open. I walked past her. I got in my car. I put the letters on the passenger seat. I put the 12 forged ones in my coat pocket. I drove home. 94 minutes. Yuki was in the kitchen making Reuben soup. She looked at me. She looked at the letters. Her voice was quiet. How many? 37 plus 12 my father wrote back, pretending to be me. Sit down. Coffee is ready. The chair held me. The coffee was warm. The crying did not start until the 4th sip. The 8 things that happened over the next 4 weeks are things. Priscilla filed the amended trust with Marion County Probate on Monday morning at 9:04. The trust named me sole trustee, primary beneficiaries, Reuben and Poppy. Total estate value, $1.4 million. The main asset was my grandfather's paid-off house in Bloomington, plus investment accounts he had been managing quietly for himself, despite the 3-year public claim that he could not manage a checkbook. The POA revocation filed the same morning. My father's authority over any of my grandfather's accounts was terminated at 9:07 a.m. At 9:41 a.m., he tried to log into the investment account to wire $20,000. The login was refused. 3 attempts. The account was flagged for security review at 9:44. The estate accounting demand arrived at 3:11 p.m. Monday. Priscilla's office required a full accounting of all funds drawn on my grandfather's estate for 3 years. 30 days to produce records or face civil fraud action. The accounting, when produced, showed a monthly administrative stipend of $4,200 drawn for 36 consecutive months. $151,200. Meadowlark Assisted Living charged $3,800 a month, all-inclusive. The administrative stipend was justified as covering family management costs. There were no family management costs. Every dollar had been pocketed, none reported on taxes. The accounting also showed monthly transfers of $2,850 to a bank account belonging to Elise Ledger Kellerman for 22 months, labeled Grandpa's Gift. $62,700. Elise had known the money came from the estate. She had been telling Brooks it was interest-free loans that would be forgiven when Grandpa passed. She had not told Brooks that Grandpa was not passing. Brooks read the accounting when Priscilla's office released it to the family. Legal separation papers were filed 9 days later. Not because of the money, because of 22 months of lying about it. Elise's mortgage payment defaulted on the first of the next month. She called Verna. No answer. She called Duane. His voice was flat. "That is over, Elise." The line went dead. My mother posted a long message on Facebook on the 6th day, tagging 47 members of the extended family. Sharing this because too many people are asking. Fiona has manipulated her 89-year-old grandfather, using his declining mental state to steal his estate from the rest of the family. She has cut off contact with her father, her mother, and her sister. My husband and I have engaged an attorney to challenge the trust change. Please pray for our family and for Grandpa Wallace, who does not have the capacity to understand what has been done to him. 84 comments arrived in 2 hours. Most were supportive of Verna. Priscilla had been ready. My grandfather had recorded a 96-second video testament the Sunday afternoon of my first visit to Meadowlark after the confrontation. Bethany had filmed it on her phone at his request because he had known his son would attempt public defamation. He was correct. Priscilla emailed the video to Verna's attorney at 8:47 a.m. the next morning. My grandfather's voice, clear on camera. "I am not confused. I have never been. My son is a thief, and my daughter-in-law is his partner. My granddaughter Fiona has been the person I trusted most for 3 years. My great-grandchildren Reuben and Poppy are my heirs. This is my final testament in the event my son challenges. Please distribute." The attorney forwarded it to Verna at 9:22. By noon, the Facebook post was deleted. By evening, the account was deactivated. 3 former colleagues from Mission General wrote a joint letter to the Pediatric Oversight Committee Alumni Board that Duane had chaired for 8 years. Dr. Grace Ashwood signed first. 2 others followed. The request, removal. The email arrived 11 days later. 1 sentence. "After further consideration, we have decided to appoint a new chair." Duane forwarded it to no one. He printed it and set it on the corner of his desk. My mother arrived at her Wednesday garden club on the 4th Wednesday. 22 years of membership, 6 fall bulb sales co-chaired. Her name tag was missing from the volunteer board. The club president, Lila Renwick, met her in the parking lot. "Verna, we need to take a break from your participation while things settle down." No argument came. The car door closed. The engine stayed off for 34 minutes. Then the drive home. I almost called her that afternoon. The phone was in my hand. Her contact was pulled up. Poppy was drawing at the counter. Reuben was on the couch with a book. The phone went back on the counter. A mug of tea got made instead. The chair next to Poppy was the right place to be. The question about what she was drawing was the right question to ask. Sunday morning, 4 weeks and 2 days after the confrontation, Meadowlark Assisted Living. Common room. Morning light through the tall east-facing window. Grandpa Wallace was in a wingback chair by the window. He was wearing a blue cardigan Bethany had helped him into that morning. Reuben was on the floor with a set of dominoes. He was teaching Poppy the standing up in a row game. Poppy had already knocked over the first setup twice. Reuben's voice was still raspy from surgery, so the teaching happened in short sentences and hand gestures. Space. A finger down. This much. 2 taps. Older brothers who cannot use their voices become teachers of the specific kind that use less and mean more. Poppy watched his hands as much as his mouth. The wingback chair next to Wallace held me and the leather-bound journal open in my lap. He had just told me the story of the man who gave him the journal in 1946, a widowed neighbor named Ezra Cheswick who covered Wallace's rent for 4 months after his father died. Wallace had been 11. He had never forgotten. The journal had been bought a week later. Ezra's name went in first. 78 years of kindnesses followed. Fiona. Yeah, Grandpa. You were the only one who wrote. I know. Every letter. I read every one. I know that now. Those other letters, the ones your father sent pretending to be you, they almost worked. Almost. 34 months of thinking my granddaughter did not want to visit me. Then Ms. Kettler appeared in one, and the whole thing fell apart. His hand was on the armrest, thin, spotted, still steady. I would not have made it without the real ones. You would have made it. You would have made it whether anyone wrote or not. His voice was firmer than anything heard from him in 5 years. That is not true, Fiona. You are being kind. Do not be kind, be accurate. The letters kept me, that is all. The journal opened to the current page. The date went down in pen. February 24th, Sunday morning, 1 line underneath. Wallace, 90 years of writing down other people's kindness. Then he wrote down mine. Across town, Duane's study was quiet. The accounting demand response letter was being read for the 4th time. His attorney's assessment, $200,000 to $400,000 in restitution and penalties. The IRS referral was already in motion. His attorney had said, Duane, at your age, if this goes federal, you may not see the other side of it as a free man. The house on Sagamore Trail was still and cold. Verna was at the kitchen counter with both hands flat on the granite, not making anything. The garden club name tag was still missing. The Facebook account was still deactivated. Her sister had not called in 11 days. Elise was at her house alone. Brooks had moved into a rental in Fishers. The kids were with him this weekend. The mortgage was 13 days delinquent. A lender notice sat on the counter. The phone had been picked up 9 times in 12 hours to text me. Nothing had been sent. At Meadowlark, Reuben's next line of dominoes started to topple. Poppy squealed. Wallace laughed. The laugh was smaller than the one remembered from childhood, but it was the same laugh, the one he had made when a 7-year-old told him she was going to be a doctor when she grew up. He had said, close enough, when the 7-year-old became a respiratory therapist at 26. He had meant it. He had always meant it. If this story found you today, subscribe to Family Secret Tales and share it with the person who was told their sick child was a burden by the people who owed the child everything. My grandfather Wallace was born in 1936. He has spent 78 years writing down other people's kindness in a leather-bound journal, and he handed that journal to me on a Sunday morning in February, with morning light on his window and my son teaching my daughter to line up dominoes on the floor. My father told the family for 3 years that Grandpa was gone. He was not gone. He was writing back. 37 letters were waiting in the bottom drawer of a desk, and every one of them said the same thing in different ways. I see you. I have been seeing you. Keep going. Reuben's dominoes hit the last one. Poppy clapped. Wallace closed his eyes and kept a smile on his face. The journal was on my lap. The letter from 4 weeks ago was in my purse. The morning light was on the copper window frame. The oven at home was cold, the children were warm, and the letters were finally where they belonged.